Good afternoon. This is Dr. Stephen Evans again, the editor-in-chief and publisher of Outclick Magazine. We are excited today to welcome Quentin Lee. He is currently out in Los Angeles, California, so he is joining us via video, as most of these are. He is a member of the Producers Guild of America. He's written his first feature was Shopping for Fangs, co-directed by Justin Lee. It premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival and became a cult classic as part of the Asian American New Wave in 1997. Some of his subsequent features included Drift, Ethan Mayo, The People I've Slept With, White Frog, and The Unbidden. They've all been sold and played features worldwide, such as the AFI Fest, the Vancouver International, Hawaii International, Sao Paulo, Buenos Aires Independent, Turin, and Cardiff. He's also put out recently Come Make the Car, Please Notice Me. His upcoming projects include 3 stand-up comedy specials, Ed Hill, Candy and Smiley, and the Brash Boys Club for Comedy Dynamics. We're going to welcome him to the stage. Quentin, hello.
How's Florida? How's it?
It's doing very good. It's warm and sunny here, and warm. How is Los Angeles?
It's warm and sunny, but we're going through this yo-yo thing between COVID. So some restaurants are open, they close it again. It's like, oh my God.
I know.
So it's very challenging out here.
I know. You've had a lot of interesting shows. Tell us, let me first go, what's it like to be a producer? What kind of life is like that to produce these kinds of shows? And I've never been one.
Okay. Well, I'm both a director and a producer.
And producer.
I am a very reluctant producer because I end up producing a lot of my shows because for just one reason or another. Because actually, to be honest, I work with a lot of producers, but no producer is the better producer than me into producing my own shows. So, I do now take on that role a lot as a producer, and I joined the Producers Guild like I think 3 years ago. And I both produce and direct, and I also write. And I think that that's the only way for me to be in control of my material and my art, you know. And I think actually I'm right now writing a book about independent filmmaking called Adventures in Indie Filmmaking. So it's gonna take a year, but the reason why I was writing is because I learned so many mistakes from myself and all these producers I've worked with, and all these kind of. So I want to write a book about all these lessons, what you should do, you know, producing an independent film. But you know what? It's been a lot of fun. It's definitely a passion. It's hard to make money for sure. And, you know, and it's just, you know, it's a success to just even survive in the industry.
Yeah, to be part of the whole process, the writing, producing, and directing. You have a really interesting series that's called Commisery that is out. Tell us about that, both in terms of platform and taping, which is in this COVID environment. Tell us about your series that's out.
Yeah, so Commisery is actually created around like just right at the beginning of COVID. And I have like a filmmaker friend who gave me a call, and he's more of a writer. And he says, oh my God, let's do something together. I said, sure, why don't we do a Zoom series? We shoot on Zoom. So we just brainstormed for like a couple of days, and he wrote the pilot of Commisery, which is basically a story about a few Asian American friends that all hang out on Zoom. And then one of them claims that he's come back from the future, 20 years from the future, and died to warn them about an alien invasion right now. Then his girlfriend shows up and he claims his girlfriend is an alien virus possessed by his body. So really, that's sort of the story of Commisery. It's about these few Asian American friends discovering this alien invasion and trying to stop it.
And is it? It's on Facebook, or what platform can people?
Right now. It's on Facebook. So you can access it through commisery.tv, and you're watching the first pilot episode right now. And also we've shot some extra footage with the actors, and we're putting all the webisodes into a feature film that's also coming out later. Yeah. So currently you can watch it on Facebook. It's all 8 episodes that were shot. We just finished the last episode last week. So we just released it this Monday. And you can access it by going to commisery.tv. And it's been a really kind of fun thing. It's really safe, and we shot everything on Zoom. We basically put the project together in 2 weeks. Like I got the casting done, and basically it's just me and my writer friend, and we did everything together. I edited the whole thing and found music and did everything. And it's just a really kind of fun project to do during the lockdown, where you cannot really be on set and to shoot anything.
Mm-hmm. It's when this whole COVID thing started, I began to wonder what will become of Hollywood, what will become of production of TV shows, of movies, even down to commercials. How will they even film commercials, because everyone will be so segregated? And so this has been a real challenge for producers and directors to come up with content in a way. So you come up with a really, really fun scenario, a fun way for people to watch a new series like this.
Yeah. So one of the things we thought we wanted to do comedy, because I think that, to be honest, like even I'm kind of depressed. I'm like kind of depressed with those situations. You can't go out. There's no entertainment. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's important for us to actually be happy and try to cheer each other out. And that's why we decided to make a sci-fi comedy and not a sci-fi tragedy where everybody dies or anyone dies, because we have enough deaths already, right?
Right.
So we just want to laugh and have a good time. And serendipitously, I just got into this comedy thing. So I was created a series called Comedy Invasion that was on Hulu in 2018, and basically it's a stand-up showcase for 6 Asian American stand-up comedians, and each episode is an hour long. So it's basically a 1 hour special. So somehow I got into this whole stand-up comedy thing, and now I've been keep doing comedy since 2017, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Now, why did you make him come back from the future?
You know what? I think time travel is always very interesting. That fascinates me as a kid in all the sci-fi movies. So, and I think it's important to always have time travel in sci-fi. And and we sort of figure out the plot throughout these 8 weeks we're shooting and writing it, and it's such a fun process. And we actually didn't know how to end the series. Actually, there was one actor we actually didn't cast, which was the dead boyfriend of the main character. The main character is non-binary, and then his boyfriend is also non-binary. And we actually didn't think of having to cast him. Think of casting him because he died actually at the beginning of the series. But then we sort of like brought him back, and we ended up casting an actor who's Virgin Banks, who's actually a colleague of mine, and went to Yale together. He was in Yale School of Drama. So it's such a fun series to do, to improvise, and you can just so it's just a lot of fun, and it just really it really kept me alive and happy during this COVID era.
Yeah, I think we're all looking for new and creative ways to get our artistry out there. This sounds like it's a really fun project. I'm glad you've been able to do this. How has it been received by the community?
I think people like it. I mean, like we have anything from 20,000 views to like 50,000 views on each episode. So it's doing really well. But I'm trying to use that to use this attention to really push it into like a more kind of like commercial viable product, which would be the feature film.
Okay. Oh, the feature. Okay.
Yeah. So it's all the episodes will come together, and we also like shot like extra footage to turn it into a feature film.
Okay. When you filmed it, just out of curiosity, did you film each individual segment and piece it together, or did you do them all as one same content?
We did shoot each individual segment. So each segment we shot like one day of a week.
Okay.
So, and then sometimes the writer's still writing a script. So every I'm working with the writer to do the script, and then we send it to the actors, and then we shoot it on Zoom. And then I also shot extra footage with the actors, where I just recently went out and basically shot it on an iPhone with them. So it's kind of like a really interesting way of producing a project. And I know a lot of studios are already getting into doing this kind of Zoom-like things, Zoom-like series,
I know if you do them individually, it's a challenge for the actors, because I've heard that one of the hardest things for an actor to do is to fake a phone call because they're doing only a half of the phone call and there's no one else on the phone call. So they're trying to do the whole conversation with no one else on the phone call. So if they're doing the Zoom and they're only reading their half of the script, there's no one else to interact with on the thing. So they're only doing their part of it without the other actors and actresses.
Oh, we're actually shooting it all together, believe it or not.
But you're shooting it all together.
So what we do is that we shoot it's just kind of like shooting a film. We shot the master. The master basically is like the group thing. And we'll keep the actors on Zoom, even though they are not, then we're not shooting the close-up, right? So usually you shoot the individual close-up. So we keep the actors on Zoom and the actor will be interacting with the other actor. So in that way, you don't really, you're not like talking to like a blank screen or something. So I think that's really important. It's just like, that's one of the strategies. I think it's really important. I know that a lot of times on big budget productions, the actors the other actor is not even around, and you have availability. So you have to. I don't think that's the best thing. And this happens to be this happens to be a project that it's kind of almost like a family atmosphere, because all the actors that got involved, they were people that I've worked with. I want to work with. They're pretty much friends. So it's a really it's been a really fun thing to do, just to be able to get everybody busy and doing something.
Yeah. But I've also heard that the people who do the voiceovers for cartoons are never in the same room. They all I've heard they always do the voices for the cartoons independently. They sometimes even just call in and they splice all of the ones together for the cartoon voices. So it's an interesting paradigm of how those particular shows are created. So maybe for the future of video, it may be a new way of shooting the video content. I'm not an expert on it, but it's interesting to see how Hollywood and producers and people will be creating this content now.
Well, I kind of think it's interesting, especially to bring that up, because video is actually a new format, and even video chat right now, it's really it's really like 2010, 2015 after post kind of thing, right? And back before, when I started in the film industry, being good on the phone is so important, because with video it's a little bit easier, because you have an image, you can get a lot of things that I wasn't saying very clearly to you by my gestures and things like that. But if on the phone skills in Hollywood, it's so crucial. When I started off in I came to LA in 1993, and one of the things is I learned to have really good phone skills. And one of my first job was at Columbia TriStar TV Publicity. I was working on a lot of Emmy campaigns and all the shows like Married with Children, and so I couldn't figure out why all these publicists' voice sounds like they're gay. They're totally straight guys. So you talk to them, they talk really normal, but on the phone they'll say, "Hi, good morning, Columbia TV TriStar Publicity." So this gay voice actually, this kind of like more feminine voice, whether it's for men and women, actually do help to draw people more out on the phone, believe it or not. But on a video, if I give you this really gay voice, "Hi, how are you?" then it becomes a little bit too much. So so phone skills is very interesting, and I think that this generation, unfortunately, is losing a lot of phone skills, because everybody's like texting and emailing and stuff like that. But I definitely learned that skill when I first came out to Hollywood, which was kind of like challenging and fun.
Yeah, I have noticed a lot of people now would rather text than call, and it's a common trend to call someone, don't get an answer, and they text you back immediately after the phone call. And it's an interesting phenomenon. People have lost I don't know if it's the interest or ability to talk on the phone.
I think it's a generation kind of thing, because because back when, I think for our generation, we depend on the phone a lot, just even in the 70s, growing up in the 70s and 80s, right? I mean, chatting with friends on the phone is not your life, right? Yeah. It's not like you can video conference someone. Yeah. So that definitely helps. But I think, you can't text anything, and I think like it's just communication changes. That's all. Yeah. But I think it is important for you to have a good phone skills, because phone it's so interesting, because it's just that voice, and you hear that voice, and this voice can comfort you. And for example, one of my side jobs I had, in LA quite a while ago was I was an interpreter, and you'd be surprised, so many people in America do not speak a word of English, and everything they transact, whether from from like going to see the doctor to buy stocks to 911 to being in court have to be interpreted. And I was a Cantonese English interpreter, and that working in that job just totally showed me like the backbone of America, how it works. So I'll be selling stock one day, I'll be like go, to the doctor, and literally like one of the first early calls, the first thing I got a call on the medical call was that, oh, interpreter, I'm so sorry. Please tell this lady that, I'm so sorry. Her cancer has spread from her stomach to her stomach wall, and there's nothing we can do. And this is sometimes the first line that I have to interpret to this woman that I don't know. So having that phone skill again, it's like, really interesting. And sometimes, and the most hilarious thing is that I was on a call with the New York emergency room. The first thing they said, oh, interpreter, tell this man that his mother just died in the emergency room, and does he need an autopsy? And this is the first thing I have to say to someone. I was like, oh my God. But you learn to do it. And then I was in court one day, and I have no idea. It's in Seattle. The judge called me and said, interpreter, swear yourself in. What's your name? I said, I'm Quentin Lee. And then it goes on, and she started like nonstop saying like, tell this guy, he's like, he overfished like clams for like 30 pounds or something. And then she was going so fast that I was just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. It's like, this is my first time doing a court call. I don't think I'm ready. Can you get another interpreter? And the judge go, click. And then I got yelled at by my supervisor. It's like, Quentin, if you pass this thing, you're supposed to be able to interpret. You cannot just dodge a court call. So anyway, so it's so stressful sometimes.
So I have a question. If having put together an entire series, for an actress who may be going into a series like this for the first time, are there any skill set acting tips you might want to give someone who's going to put together their first webcast, first web series like this? Yeah,
but believe it or not, I think if you work with good actors, there are not that's not that much of a problem. And the one thing I do notice is that it's just to rehearse with them a little bit earlier. So in the first few episodes, we would actually rehearse 2 days before. We would spend like an hour just to rehearse with the actors, and they're on Zoom and they're comfortable, and we rehearse it, and then we shoot it on another day. But on the later episodes, we're actually rehearsing the hour before we shoot, and we just do everything in one session. Became much more efficient. So again, it's really, again, like doing anything, directing actors is really about getting the actors to be comfortable with each other very early on. And sometimes in bigger budget films, it's hard to do that because everybody's flying on a day off, but that's the world, that's the life. So
yeah. Well,
the trick is work with good actors.
Work with good actors.
Yes.
Yeah. And they can practice now in their own ways that they couldn't before. They can see it, in their own real time with the cameras. So
yeah, again, I think as an actor, you need to be prepared. By prepared, you mean that I would like you to have your lines down when you're rehearsing, especially when you're shooting. Yeah. And anyways, I would name names, but I've worked with actors that would just come on, just show up, and then they just don't have the lines down, and they're like doing the makeup. It's like, hey, it's like you're supposed to have your set ready, but all really good professional actors are always ready. And I swear to God, I'm not sure you've done any auditions in terms of like casting, in casting session. And the casting director would never tell you that to have your lines down and to have you be off book, because it's not legal. Actually, it's not legal. It's not. You're not supposed. You come to a reading, come to audition the first time. You're not supposed to be off book. But the actors that always get the roles and that really want the roles are always off book. They're ready to just do it. And those actors always say, "Oh wow, I really like that." I mean, they just give you a different kind of vibe, and you feel like much more compelling you're much more compelled to work with them.
I was watching an interview with our slow burn partner last night, and they had done 9 to 5, the musical, and they were saying that when Dolly Parton was getting ready to tape 9 to 5, that was just her first one, and she had memorized the entire script for the first day. She didn't realize that they did it in sequences, so she had the entire script memorized for the first day, unlike everyone else who was learning as they go along, and so she had memorized the whole script right from the very beginning.
Yeah, I mean that's really the difference between someone who really wants the part and someone who just don't really care.
Yeah.
So again, like, so that I think the tip for any actress is that you be prepared when you go to an audition, and be prepared when you come on set.
Yeah.
Because I'm not there to, I'm not your acting coach. I'm not there to babysit you. I'm just there to shoot something, you know, shoot a movie.
Yeah. And you have a project called Deimos coming up. Tell us about that new project you have coming.
Yes. So Deimos is actually a project I'm writing with my professor back from Yale in 1993, actually. So Elizabeth Wilson, and basically we had this idea. It's basically it's a dramatic series, 60 minutes per episode, and it's about these 5 different characters in 5 different continents playing a secret online game called Deimos. And the goal of the game is to create the perfect democracy, the best democracy. So actually, so Deimos is also the fictitious online nation that these people are playing this game on. The reason why we thought of that is that there's so much discussion about democracy right now, and we sort of and me and Elizabeth got reconnected basically recently during the Hong Kong protests, when we were having a lot of online discussion about democracy and whether Hong Kong could have democracy. So so by creating this series, we hope, like, you know, to sort of bring the idea of democracy to the forefront, and to let anybody from all walks of life, you know, whether you're a student, you are like a teenager, or you are like, you know, just, you know, just a worker, I don't know, like an office worker, to think about the idea of democracy and how does that translate to your life.
Do you think the perfect democracy is possible?
It's not. It's just a game. That's why we frame it as a game. But it's, I mean, there's no perfect democracy. I mean, that's why these people. So the first season of this series is about the election of the president of this game.
Okay.
So they're creating this new political parties, and they're trying to get each other, you know, they're trying to get elected. So so it isn't, because I think we thought of this idea because just even in, we're very stuck in a very politically correct type of like environment, that you're not supposed to say anything politically incorrect. So, but this show gives you that opportunity to think about both political correctness and incorrectness, and think about authoritarian government versus, you know, like some place like China, Russia versus, you know, America or Europe. So, so I think it's going to be a really mind-opening show for a lot of people.
That sounds fascinating. I said, the only one of the few silver linings of our current administration is at least people have gotten interested in politics like they never gotten interested in politics before. It's been a topic of conversation, sometimes a little more heated than before, but at least people are interested in talking about politics.
But I think it's really a difficult time, because I am really a liberal. I mean, I am basically I'm a reasonable, very kind of pretty liberal person in a lot of ways. And still, I think I'm constantly getting criticized by the ultra left and the ultra right. And there is a level of fear of not willing to talk about certain things, because you'll be very politically unpopular on Facebook. Like, so it's a really difficult time, I think, because of Trump, because of, you know, a president polarizes all these people. And even for him, like, one of his strategies is make people not afraid to tell the truth, even like criticize the CDC or whatever, right? Because so it's challenging. So it's just, even with the whole Black Lives Matter kind of thing, with the protests and things like that. And I think that the COVID cases have definitely been the COVID cases have not been improved by the protests. And because that's mass gathering way over like 500 people. So, but again, I think there's a level of fear for people not be willing to say, hey, you know what, that's really not the smartest thing to protest right now, right? And not everybody's wearing masks. So, and I don't even understand why wearing a mask is such a big deal, because you're wearing masks just to protect, you know, yourself and the other person, you know. And for example, like Taiwan never had to shut down because everybody wear masks. They never had to shut down, never have to shut down schools. And it's just such an inconvenience to have schools shut down, and especially like if you have kids. Thank God my daycare is open, because otherwise I wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah. And you have another television sitcom coming out called HollywoodShare.tv. Tell us about that. That's another fun project I see coming down for you.
Well, HollywoodShare.tv right now is in financing stage, so we're pitching a project right now. So basically, it's a project that is being co-written with by me and also Jennifer Yarukas, who is a choreographer and a director. And basically based on her personal experience of Airbnb-ing her 2-bedroom Hollywood kind of apartment, where Shannon Elizabeth is attached to play the lead, and so basically she's the lady Airbnb-ing her place, and in each episode she meets very different people from all over the world, some quirky characters, some nice characters, and some crazy people. And then Mindy Cohn is going to be playing from Facts of Life. Is going to be playing the nosy neighbor.
Okay.
And then we have Samson McCormick, who is an up-and-coming stand-up gay black comedian, and he's playing the gay best friend kind of thing. So right now, these 3 actors are attached to the show, and hopefully we would get it financed and we'll get to make it.
We'll have to do an interview with you and all of them.
Yeah, that'd be lovely.
When they get closer to production. And you have Son of Smiley coming?
Son of Smiley is actually a Canadian TV series. We're talking to a network in Canada about, and it's co-created by me and the comedian Ed Hill, which is based on his childhood experience. So in a nutshell, it's kind of like, fresh off the boat, but from a psychoanalytical angle. So it's about like a Asian Canadian dad who's going to see a therapist because he's not sure he's going to be a good dad. And then in the therapy sessions, it sort of like flashes back to his childhood memory and about how living with these 2 immigrant parents are kind of potentially traumatizing. So it's gonna be really fun. It's gonna be a fun project, and it's more lighthearted, despite the psychoanalytical angle. And I think like it's something that Asians and Asian Americans and Asian worldwide need to face. Is because I don't think we are so into this whole psychoanalytic kind of thing, and people are just kind of potentially crazy, and it's a taboo, in Asian culture in general. That why would you need to go see a therapist, right? I mean, for me, I go see a therapist because just like you go see a plastic surgeon you beautify yourself, externally, but going to see a therapist is to beautify your mind. So that's how I see it. But certainly, I think there's a lot of taboo in the existing more conservative communities, be it Asian American and Latino. So I think it's something to really explore. Would be a really good thing, because I love seeing a therapist about money, but I obviously don't. I trade my therapist for a maid because I'd rather have my house clean.
Okay. We just had a video call with a counseling center and addiction recovery center, and so we just talked about mental health. We just actually finished one on that. So yes, it's very important, and I think so even more so during this time. People are struggling with depression, anxiety, and a lot of things are coming to the surface, and there are a lot of things that people need to really reach out for help, and that's a really great resource. So
I think the psychoanalysis, I've just always been fascinated by it, having read Freud when I was in my grad school years, and I was like, wow.
Okay. I actually have my master's degree is actually in counseling, so
wow.
I think it's fascinating. So we studied Freud and Jung and all of the psychoanalytic theories, and so
are you still a practicing counselor?
I'm not. I went into higher ed and went into residence life and went into student affairs. That's where my career took me. But yes, I took classes on the DSM-4 and psychoanalysis and marriage and family and crisis counseling and group counseling. And so yes, my background and my master's is actually in counseling psychology. So I think it's very, very fascinating.
And it's also really helpful for writing, because I remember reading a book about so basically the book is a screenwriting book, but basically it's saying that everybody has some kind of personality disorder, and everybody is leaning towards one way or the other. So I'm more borderline for sure, because my mom is narcissistic, borderline narcissistic. So it's really great resource for creating interesting characters, because I think we all have some kind of trait of like a personality disorder.
And when they're axis, maybe they're axis 1, maybe they're axis 2, which I think is now out of the last DSM. But what are the personality disorders that they have, and delving into those? Insomniac with Robin Williams. What were the things? What are the psychological thrillers that make the movie so interesting and the disorders that they have, whether they're the delusion of grandeur, or that's specifically what the characters have, or the mix of the problems that the characters have. That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. So, well, this has been fun. You have a lot of interesting content. I'm glad we got to connect. And I watched the episodes online, and they're very interesting. What do you think? What do you think is the future of production in Hollywood? If you could guess, Hollywood in general, as things are just crazy right now.
I just think that the sets will become a little bit smaller for the next year or something, so people will be more distant, and you just have to wear a mask on the set. I think so. Actually, believe it or not, I'm going on a class to become a COVID compliance officer on a set, but I'm actually learning it so that I know better how to manage my set in 30 minutes. So I'm kind of excited to learn more about how production can be done within this COVID environment. But of course, hopefully we have the vaccine soon, and we'll be back on set and make some sexy films and maybe pornos.
I've had conversations with people doing live performances, and that the Actors Guild or the organizations are putting out guidelines about how far apart the actors can be, the distance backstage, pre-performances when they're rehearsing, and then how far apart the seating can be. And then some of them are actually looking at taking traditional scripts and amending the script, so maybe the love scene doesn't involve a kiss, or it doesn't involve such and such, which may sound unfortunate, but the reality is we have to adapt those kinds of things for what they are now. It doesn't mean it's permanent, but there are some ways that people are being creative to try to make things work, to get people on stage and for everyone to be safe, to get those live productions back up and coming as best they can, even if it means altering the scripts. I know a lot of them are talking about the spaces backstage are a real issue, not having enough room for everyone backstage. So it's a whole nother a slice of things that I think we're looking at to come.
Yeah, it's the wild world coming.
Yeah,
it's fun though. I think it's fun. But just before we go, I do want you guys to take a look at Brash Boys Club, which is actually this comedy special, female comedy special that I made at the beginning of the year. It's coming out in September. I think September 12th or something.
Okay.
So, from Comedy Dynamics. So please look out for it, and I'm sure you'll enjoy and have a good time.
And it's called Brash
Boys Club.
And it is what is it again?
It's 3 gay male comedians, each doing a 30-minute set.
Stand-up comedians. Okay.
Yes.
And what platform is it going to be on? So
it's
we can find it.
It's going to be on everything, like Apple TV, Amazon, whatever, you see.
Okay. Okay. So it's going to be on the streaming platforms. All right.
Yes.
So, and how do we find you and your media online?
Just come to my website, marginfilms.com. Marginfilms.com. You can follow me on Twitter. It's at Lee Quentin, and my Instagram is at Gay Hollywood Dad. That's sort of my So that's,
okay. And that's Margin Films, MARGIN films.com.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the last question I always ask people in all of these scenarios is, what's a word of encouragement you can give people during this time?
Yes. So at the beginning of the epidemic, my professor, Elizabeth, my writing partner, sent me a little story about Newton. So how Newton actually discovered gravity and did a lot of work during the pandemic back in his days. And so I took that advice really close to my heart, so I never stopped working. And so now I've got all these projects going. So you should never stop working.
Yeah, good for you. We've created some digital stuff. The interviews were something that have come as a result of it, and we've pushed our digital platform. So be creativity. I think the American spirit will prevail. We'll figure something out, and that's great.
Yes,
well, thank you. Is there anything else to cover I haven't asked you?
No, thank you so much. I really enjoyed the experience. So looking forward to seeing the stream online.
Thank you. And we'll have to follow up with some interviews with your other projects as they come about. Let's get some actors in there and talk about their experience with it. I'd enjoy that.
Sure, absolutely. That'll be fun.
All right. And again, that is Margin Films, MARGIN films.com.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Quentin, and
Thank you, Stephen.
have a great time out there in LA.
You too. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.